Howdy everybody. I've got a pretty fun one for you today. Now this pattern can be quite a mess, but I think it's a mess in a pretty good way. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Now I got this one from my trusty Federation of Fly Fishers Pattern Encyclopedia. It was in the generic mayfly nymph section, which is pretty much what it is, just a mayfly. But you know, what kind of mayfly? Who knows? Anything you want it to be, tied any color you want, any size you want. It is a fun pattern, albeit a little bit messy, but I think you can get a lot of mileage out of a pattern like this. So there's one in the vise, a Marabou Nymph, just a very generic mayfly looking pattern. It's not real pretty to look at, but I think it's going to be a pretty effective fly. Now the recipe says anywhere from a 12 to a 22. I'm going with a 14. I just don't see how anybody could tie this thing down to a 20 or smaller. There's just too much going on. And the hook it recommends is a Daiichi 1270, which is really the same thing as the J. Stockard 430. It's just a 3x long curved shank generic hook. What I use for my hoppers, a lot of streamers, and plenty of nymphs. And it calls for a thread the same as your body color. So I'm going with a tan because I'm going to go with a ginger marabou body. And the rib is just a vinyl. I'm using a D rib, but you could use any type of thin vinyl right here. And this is a clearish gray. I'm going to catch it in just a little bit, you know, farther up than halfway. Not quite 2/3, I would say. And I'm going to catch it in on my side. It should help me with that first wrap. Next thing we want is just a tuft of marabou in whatever color you're using. And it doesn't need to be a big piece, and it doesn't need to be the highest quality feather in your pack. So just kind of pinch it in right here. We're going to catch this in as a tail. We don't need this much for the tail, but we do for the body. So we have to catch in a fair sized feather, and we'll end up trimming some of that tail in a second. So maybe 3 wraps to get that caught pretty well. Take your thread up here to where we're going to stop the body. Now I'm going to wrap this up. I'm not going to spin it as a tight rope because I'd like to have some of these, fibers kind of sticking out as I wrap it up. Okay, when you've got enough of your body, go ahead and catch it off and then go ahead and snip this, but don't throw it away. We're going to use it for the thorax. Now a couple of them I just tried to finish the fly with leaving that piece on, but it made it a lot harder, so I'm going to go ahead and snip them. And I'm going to wrap this rib the same way I wrapped the marabou. And again, don't worry if that tail gets all wonky on you. We're going to trim most of it here in just a second. Now we can go ahead and trim the tail now if you want. We're going to go probably trim it by more than half. And you might even want to go more than that. Pretty much up to you. Now the next thing it calls for is some medallion sheeting. I have no idea what that is. I'm using some Swiss straw. It might be a very similar material. I kind of have a hunch it's close to it. And I'm going to catch it in right here, and we'll take a few wraps back to get the size of the thorax that we want. Just don't want it to spin around too much on me here. Okay, is that going to be enough of thorax? I think so. We should be fine right there. A few extra wraps, smooth this out. Now let's catch in this marabou again. Now this is the same piece I was using before. You can see where I've snipped it. I'm going to lick my fingers, try to bunch it together, and then just catch it in right here. These tips are going forward. It probably doesn't matter which way you orient it right here. But take it up, stay a couple of eye lengths back because we do have a hackle up here. And I'm going to spin this together a little bit. My real goal for the thorax is just to get a little bit of a bulbous area, maybe a little bit thicker than the body. Most mayfly nymphs, the thorax is a little bit thicker. Okay, when you've made a nice good mess of this, go ahead and trim this. And try not to clobber your eye like I've kind of done right here. Maybe we can fix this. Let's see. Let's just try to pull all this back. Create a little flat area here where we can catch in some legs. Alright, we might be fine. And the legs, just partridge. This is a Hungarian partridge, a pretty small feather. Create a little catch-in point right here. We're only going to put one, maybe 1.5 wraps of this. It's not a whole lot of legs on this thing. Now I don't have a lot of feather to work with, so I'm going to grab my spring-loaded hackle pliers here. And let's take one wrap around. Maybe... yeah, let's get another half a wrap here. That's about all the fibers I have anyway. Now it's still pretty buggy, but we'll have some cleanup in a second. Out of the 3 of these I just tied, I've had some cleanup on every one of them. But before we do that, let's go ahead and bring up our wing case. Just try to split these even to either side. And let's push these up there and try to get a clean head. Just be careful not to close up your eye, but don't be afraid to get a big head. It is a nymph. Now let's take a look, see what kind of cleanup we have. I just want, you know, the profile. I want the legs to be coming off of either side. I don't really want them on the underside, so let's just pull these out, snip a few here. Up to you, but I think the profile you want is just kind of the body, thorax, with a few legs coming off to either side. So that's it, my friends. It's a pretty messy looking pattern, but you know, I think it's going to be an effective fly. So I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time. Okay, I'm back. Now let's do something fun here real quick. I've got some inventory I'm trying to get rid of. So first off, if you've watched this far, thank you. But also, I've got 5 shirts to give out. All extra larges. These gray ones with the Savage Flies embroidered logo on them. So if you'd like one of these, here's what to do. Just leave a comment, anywhere in the comment, just work in what state you're from. Now, I do need... I need a damn script for this. Take 2. Now, I need you to write state, S-T-A-T-E, in the comment. So, for example, Edward, you can't just say, oh, this would be a great fly to use in Texas, because I'm going to use the word state at the random comment picker to find the comment. So, Edward, you would have to say, oh, this would be a cool fly to use in the state of Texas. Now, I know that sounds kind of stupid, but that's how I'm going to pick the comments. So, yeah, if you want to win this hat or shirt, one of these 5 shirts, just say that in your comment. And I know this is going to leave out all the folks from overseas, but you know, realistically, it's a $15 shirt. It would cost me $30 to mail this thing to Australia. So this contest is just pretty much for folks here in the U.S. Sorry about that, folks overseas, but hey, I still appreciate you watching this far. And if you watched this far, you're really, really dedicated, and I love you for it. So, okay. Next Friday, this video is airing on a Tuesday. On Friday, it's going to be Friday the 13th, January 2023. January 13th, 2023, Friday the 13th. I'll go to the random comment picker and I'll pick 5 comments and I'll reply to your comment telling you, hey, email me and I'll mail a shirt to you. Now, I'm going to my farm this weekend, so it's a long 3-day weekend. I won't be back until middle of next week, but I'll get the shirts in the mail to you here pretty soon. So that's it, everybody. Thanks again. And for all you dedicated souls who've watched this far, you must be as crazy as me. I appreciate it. Y'all take care, and I'll see you in a couple of days.